ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nordic Championship here at the Monster Energy DreamHack Studios. Now, Game 4 is just moments away from getting underway. It is obviously a little sad what happened in Game 3, but we are just going to move from and beyond that. And it looks like now the teams are all in the lobby, so we'll be getting ready to go into game. Let's have a little chat about Champ Select at this point. What are we expecting coming into this? Atlando on the blue side and Hillerød on the red. What are we expecting coming into this game? Do we think there's going to be any targeted bans, or is it going to be more of what we've seen, pretty standard bans?
So I think there'll be a little bit of targeting. Lockerdon's been really solid on the Ornn, and I think if you push him off comfort, Andreas can definitely challenge him, especially with things like his Vladimir in the right situation that can scale up to be monsters. Fred and the Rakan was really solid. I think that overall, if Atlando get the picks they want, and they have their Thor and Face here on reliable carries, they can be in a really good spot. But on the other side, Sloth has looked formidable. I think, again, when they set up with strong team fight engaged, to put them in a good spot. I feel like Jarvan could well be a contested pick here because it plays into both the compositions these teams have been playing. As we've talked so much about ease of execution, these teams have made a big upswing, a big rise on the back of that, picking compositions where fairly straightforward, you look to engage, your front line meets their front line, and the dives on the back line, and your carries are just able to reliably push out damage in the midst.
Now, we look at what Atlando played yesterday, and Thor and Facehurt both had a fantastic game. Corky for Facehurt and Thor was on the Varus. They played superb yesterday, is really the best way to say it. They completely just put the games on the pair of them and just really took off with that. Now, those picks have been left open. That's the Ornn ban towards Lockdown you were talking about. Meanwhile, Hillerød, they've actually banned out some junglers here with the Gragas and the Elise both taken away. They're looking for one more ban here. Do they look to take away that Jarvan as well? Or if they leave that open, Atlando, they could probably just first pick it.
Yeah, they've heavily leaned on junglers as well, so it brings up the priority. They're going to ban the Aurelion Sol away from Facer. He got the first win for Atlando on that. And no surprise to see the instant Jarvan locking for Julbu. I said this would be a contested pick between them, and it appears it already is going to be. The question is going to be, where will the rest of the rotation go for Hillerød? They can either go for, say a jungler themselves, maybe an AD carry to not reveal much, especially with the Phelios open and the nerfs coming into the other big AD carries. But it depends how much of the composition they want to reveal.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't really want to take your support here because Fred has shown that he will take typically the Rakan, and you want to make sure you have a good matchup. If you take Braum, he'll take Rakan. If you take, say, Leona, he might take Braum himself. So I think you just leave that, and you can take a jungler here to not reveal too much for your composition. Flipper seemed happy on the Lee Sin if he wants to take that, but there are other options. Sejuani, risen in priority on this patch to a degree as well.
Now, Atlando could actually draft themselves into like a wombo combo comp here. They could pick themselves up the Misfortune of Leona in this rotation if they'd like. Aatrox gets locked in for Lockerdon in the top lane. He's going to be comfortable with the blind pick that. Again, it doesn't really reveal too much here. We just know what's going top and what's going in the AD carry. Atlando, though, now it's their turn to start to lock something strong in. Thor had a fantastic game on Thor had a fantastic game on the Varus last game. It's going to be a blind Rakan here from Fred. Now, this does mean that things like that Leona could just get picked up in response.
Yeah, so this was the bot lane that Atlando loved to play, the Varus and the Rakan. A lot of engage potential past 6 and safety for Fred, which means he can go in and out. But that does mean normally they go up against a Braum, and it's a great matchup into that. But here, Hillerød have the opportunity to punish. They can either go for a jungler here and look to match up before more get banned away, or they can go for a support to look to punish that matchup. They're going to go for the Thresh, so more opportunity to punish the Rakan than, say, a Braum, and also offers that element of safety to a Phelios, especially against the Cataclysm. I do think the Aatrox is interesting for Lockerdon because typically we've seen him very much set on the Ornn, and I believe he was the one who played up against Singularity. Yeah, when they played Nilian Aurelia, and he played the Yorick and got absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
Which obviously it was set up by the team. I'm not blaming that individual on him, but him off Ornn has looked a little bit shaky. So this is a time for him to prove himself. And you can see because they picked that top laner, they're able to hammer away bans with that gangplank so far. Atlando, they can either look towards blind mids like the Zoe, the LeBlanc, the Syndra, still open. That's been banned away. Or potentially they can throw a ban towards the jungler because Flipper hasn't picked anything. Lee Sin would be the big one there if you'd go in that direction.
Alrighty, well, they're thinking about their last ban here for the side of Hillerød. Most likely, I kind of expect another top lane to get banned away. Make sure that Lockerdon's in as comfortable as a lane as he can be. We have seen the set go up versus the Aatrox a couple of times here in the Nordic Championship. It does relatively well, but Andreas actually going to get the Riven banned away from him. Don't want something else that can kind of deal with it. Riven's kind of like a fast version of Aatrox. Like you have that kind of free hit ulti Q combo. Obviously, the Aatrox capable of doing a lot more sustain in the lane, but don't want to give that over. Don't want to deal with that. Cassiopeia and Syndra, so mid lane bans here by Atlando. And this means Hillerød, they're just going to look for their jungler now and try and get counterpick for Sloth. LeBlanc is still open as well.
So this is interesting to me because this suggests that Flipper had a plan throughout this, because they could have banned away junglers there, but Skarner is a fringe pick. You wouldn't ban that away. It's not the typical one you'd go for. This very much suggests that Flipper had backups ready for this situation to leave the priority to later. And it means that now he has a Skarner, and it's going to cause some issues, because if you're a primary engager like the Rakan or the Jarvan, you can be dragged away by that ult. And it means you have to invest in a QSS. On the other side, though, Face Hit going to go for the Yasuo, so big confidence pick. And we saw the Cassiopeia ban come out, which kind of mitigates some of the engage from Atlando.
Oh, it might be Yasuo top.
Could be Yasuo top, could be Yasuo mid. The Lissandra can go on both lanes as well. A lot of flexibility. But this, for me, from Atlando, this is pure engage, dive the backline potential onto Mokox on this Aphelios, which is why they're looking at the Veigar potentially here, because you throw the cage down, it has a lot of mitigation tools in that regard. So it appears that although they're still going in that direction, they're not going to go for the Veigar. They're actually going to end up going for the Corki. So they were hovering options. The Karma offers that movement speed and that peel, but instead going for a second main carry in the late game. And the difference this has is Veigar and the Karma would essentially provide protection towards Mokox, but by going the Corki, it now means that there are two targets I have to prioritize, because they both have really solid DPS output. Now for me, it's very much in the late game going to come down to coordination and team fights. There are champions on the side of Atlando that are going to fall off, like the Lissandra. And especially the Varus in comparison to Corki and the Aphelios. So I feel like this Atlando comp wants to spike hard in the mid game and really take over there. They do have an alternative win condition of the Yasuo in the side lane. And even if it goes super late, if you find the right engage, they can still come out ahead if they just instantly blow up Sloth and Mokox. But for the most part, Hillerød going to be playing a little bit of a slower pace game. Looking to go around the spikes of the package for Corki, the Impale for the Skarner, and then potentially Ermin moving around on the Thresh. So I think waiting for those big spikes will be key for them. So definitely a faster pace for Atlando, but still opportunities to win this later on. And I expected coming into this, we'd see two teams that are both going to like try and play for those team fights. And we have got that to a degree, but definitely the big things are going to come down to pacings and who wants to accelerate when.
You do think that Atlando do have more of a team fight composition put together? Obviously, the scaling available to Hillerød is terrifying. If Corki and Aphelios do go untouched and get into that late game stage, they're going to be able to pump so much out, and they'll have a very decent front line and very decent kind of tools to be peeled away when you've got the likes of the package, when you've got the likes of the Lantern to work with.
I think that's the difference, is stylistically how the team fights play out, because both of them will look to engage in those later on. The split push potential is a little rough for Yasuo because he doesn't have escape, so it's a little risky to push too far up. Aatrox as well can't pressure Yasuo that much in the late game. But the big thing is that although they will both look to team fight, Atlando are more, we want to get onto your back line, we want to find flanks, we want to find good engages and punish those carries, whereas Hillerød, they have a strong front line with Aatrox and Skarner, and they want to play front to back. They want the Skarner to be up in your face, taking the damage, and they want Corki and Aphelios free hitting. So did come down to these stylistic differences, even though roughly these teams have sort of come to the same conclusion of what works.
Alrighty, well, teams are pretty much loaded up and ready to go. So I'm excited to see how this is going to play out, because this is probably going to be a bloody game. I genuinely expect we're going to see a lot of action break out here in our fourth and final game of the Nordic Championship as we take to the Rift to round out the day. It's going to be Atlando versus Hillerød.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn.
Looks like Atlando going to push in here and try to get some vision control. Tracking this Skarner can be pretty important because he's a fast clearer, but if you look to challenge him in the early levels, you can find quite a lot of power, especially with the Lissandra. Lissandra, great at finding priority early, and then you can use the Claw to aggressively play in the enemy's jungle, especially when you have a champion like Skarner who has no dashes. If you come over the wall with your Claw and root him, very easy for Jolba to find the follow-up. So for Atlando in the early game, I expect it to be very much around this mid-jungle, which is something we hugely emphasize in this current meta. So expect to see Jolbu trying to make his presence known pre-6 against Flipper, and then Faceit as well, looking to shove and assist. So ward going to get cleared out from Flipper. He doesn't want them to have that exact timing, but to be honest, I mean, it doesn't really do much to clear that ward out. It gives a stack of the zombie ward, so that's nice. But the main thing is that realistically, they know he's starting topside. Because of Lockdown being out of vision, because they already saw him there, he didn't have time to run over. So the information still achieved by Atlando is the critical thing. And because no one leashed on the side of Atlando, Hillerød don't have the information on Jolbu's start, which is critical if you want to go aggressive and look for these invades. He does have the opportunity to flag and drag over the Dragon Wall, but since he's on his Krugs now, it feels like he hasn't gone towards that. Normally, if you're going to do that, you go red, flag over, and go straight to the opponent's blue. So unlikely we'll see that one come out. And it looks like he's just going for a full clear of his red side jungle. May actually leave the Raptors up for now.
It is also a little bit harder just purely because Mox and Irvin have got pushing priority in that bot lane. For if they do smell a rat and they rotate over, you hit on this earlier, Jarvan, when he clears, uses everything pretty much. So you don't have any escapes. And if you get collapsed on by a fresh and an Aphelios, you're dead, dude. You're not getting out of that one.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing here is that Thresh level 1 has a lot of pushing power. You have the ranged auto attacks with the extra damage on them that even exceeds what Rakan can do. And the Flay level 1 really powerful tool, whereas if Fred wants to provide CC with his grand entrance, he has to use his body to do so. He has to dash in, and then he can't get out. Now that you see Faceit has achieved that priority we talked about, so if Jolbu went for anything, particularly these skull crabs which are spawning up, he's able to assist. But at the moment, looks like Mucox is going for a cheetah recall. So he's just recalling the bottom of the lane. And this is something we've talked about before. It's where you push the lane in, you go back to base, and you walk back before the enemy team can get the wave into your tower. And it means he's able to pick up an extra Doran's Blade for a bit more power in the laning phase in the 2v2. And it's given time for Irmin to potentially go for a roam here. If Faceit uses his claw in, there'll be a Thresh able to pick him up, but ultimately nothing found there, and they're going to back away.
But nothing lost as well.
Yeah, nothing lost, but you see that Thor and Fred have gone for a bit of a slow push here, so trying to buy as much time with the wave as possible. And they are a little bit up in CS and XP, but ultimately Mocox, he gets a second Doran's Blade, really strong in those early levels, the extra lifesteal AD, and Sloth, that's not what you want to be.
Has to flash! Oh, Jolbu, that was so lovely. He finds himself first blood, and that was sick, dude.
That was so clean because he didn't have vision over the wall. There's a lot of areas where he could have flashed to, and he nailed it precisely. The confidence. Most junglers, if they flag and drag and you flash out of vision, they won't follow. So really good there. Sloth pushed up too far. The wave was shoved in by Faceit. It bounced back, and you see how Sloth had to overextend for it, and he gets punished. And we talked about how important this mid-jungle matchup was. Atlando already starting to get some momentum.
Well, it looks like Andreas is actually getting collapsed onto by Flipper. The stun will connect and actually misses out on a Q, so he's going to be shy of a knock-up. Has to flash away already. Flipper looking to run him down, but Jolbu's looking to try and return this back. The Darkened Blade lands onto 2, but a teleport's coming forward for the backup. Lockdown uses the Umbral dash and flashes away, and now Sloth looks to try and turn it away. It's a 3 versus 3. Faceit on that flank. Will spot him out with a Scryer. Slows down Flipper very slowly here. Ooh. Flashes forward, gets himself the lockdown. That's going to be a knock-up onto Lockdown, but the health bars are already starting to run low. A 2-man knockout comes through. Andreas is trying to find this damage onto Flipper, but Flipper is just way too slippery. Andreas is going low to Sloth, and Faceit is doing his best to pump that damage out as he takes the door away. He's out of mana, and Flipper finds a double kill. Hillerød win the extended trade in the jungle.
And it looked like Atlando had found the momentum. They turn it on to Flipper. They have the damage initially, and Faceit TP's in, but split focus and Sloth moving over bought so much time, and then Atlando just ran out of steam. And the sustained fights, the Skarner on his shrine, able to keep auto-attacking and applying that stun, and Sloth consistently auto-attacking finds them that advantage. And that was really rough from Atlando. That was a 3-0 in favor of Hillerød, and considering we were talking about the importance of this mid-jungle early, they just completely dropped the ball. And it bounced back.
Was used.
Dropped the ball, it bounced back and hit them in the face again.
It was a bowling ball as well.
Ouch.
That's going to make your face hurt. Psst. There we go.
So if you're interested in getting into casting, let me know, because I'm currently looking for a new co-caster.
I'm so lucky you don't make those decisions.
I'm going to make a petition.
The admin's looking at the producer in a funny way here. I need this.
He's hoping. You do see the waves actually frozen now by Andreas from the tower. Jolbu could punish. Remember, Lokadon has no flash, but does not have the ult available, the extra movement speed. And he has a good read on this. He's not stepping up, which means it's not favorable to his lane. He's down in farm as a result. But he knows that his team are able to get an advantage on the other side of the map, and Hillerød are picking up that dragon. And this harkens back to something we talked about last game. Oh, actually, speaking of, the current engage.
Infernal Chains are going to get used, holding the knock up. The World Ender gets followed up here. Andreas not level 6, and Lokadon actually just got a lot of sustain to work with. Jolbu taking a bit too many tower shots there.
Yeah, Lokadon gets out. Pretty hard to punish him because you don't have the damage when he has that mobility available from the ultimate. And critically, Hillerød, they get that dragon. And we talked about this last game before, unfortunately, it got disrupted by the disconnection. But if you're a scaling composition and you pick up those dragons early, it just delays the point at which you have to opt into the game. You can give up dragons because you know that whenever the team has 0 dragons, they're essentially 15 to 20 minutes away from Assault. So right now, Hillerød taking that first one means that Atlando are 20 minutes away from Assault if they get every dragon. And that means you have so much time to scale up before you need to contest the dragon. And it gives you more opportunities to get your item power spikes, particularly for champions like the Corki, the Aphelios, who are very gold reliant.
Absolutely right. So 4 catching this wave in the bot side. It's been pretty quiet in the bot lane. Well, action's been breaking out elsewhere. As Andreas is going for the boots as his first item. Pretty standard stuff there for the Aswo, so you can get your Steel Tempest up as quick as possible. Lost Chapter's being finished onto Phase Her. His teleport's not available. Remember, he used it topside to try and make that play happen, but just didn't happen, unfortunately, for them. Andreas is the only person with a teleport available right now. So if something is going to break out on the other side of the map from him, he can always come down to there. We're seeing that the lane swap is coming through here, and Hillerød are the ones with the advantage on that. They know that the Rift Herald is the only neutral objective standing here currently. So they get their Aphelios, they get their fresh up there. Does look like Atlando will be here in time, but they've had the ability to start setting up with Ermin and with Flipper already.
And it's to play for the Herald. And it's obviously something that Lando won. Oh, Flipper potentially looking.
Yeah, he gets a Chilling Smite off. That's going to be a good
nice
up.
hook.
And actually, the hook is just godlike from Ermin. And Fred, he is doomed. Actually has to flash away to Jolbu, who flags and drags out. That hook was so clean by Ermin.
Yeah, it looked like a really big overreach, but Flipper uses the blue smite, gets in range, and this is where Hillerød starts to spike. When they have the level 6 available from the Skarner, they can be the proactive team, and they're making it known here. They get 2 plates off that tower, essentially for nothing. The Crescendum from the Aphelios really powerful.
Oh, another hook by Ermin. Jolbu has to flash away. Uses the Moonlight Vigil for a little bit of bonus damage. Not enough to get the kill.
But that's Herald. That is them low enough that they can go for Herald. You can see instantly Flipper pattern towards it. You do see a pause come in, perhaps complaining about, wow, that's a lot of damage coming out from Aphelios. Are we sure that's not a bug? But no, unfortunately, that's just that champion.
It's actually Hillerød's pause. So it looks like they are pretty much ready to go. Just a quick issue on their headset.
Yeah,
I think maybe he was yelling so loudly from landing 2 really sick hooks in a row that he
him is really good in this stretch.
He's playing fantastic right now.
Really strong. And it's a great combo. This is something we didn't talk about before. It's a great combo with the Skarner because you can lantern him to drag the target even further. It's something we haven't actually seen in quite a while. At all internationally as well. The Thresh Skarner combo being utilized, but there's a case where it will be. And Hillerød, they get that Herald. They're up in gold, they're up in kills, they're up in dragons. They have this great scaling in their composition with a strong front line and these great carries later on. So far, Hillerød looking really good in this game, and Atlando, they need to make something happen. They're going to get back into it. Jolbu potentially looking mid, but Sloth has Cleanse, Flash, and Valkyrie.
And he's hard poking Face Hurt right now.
Yeah.
Makes it even harder. Face Hurt's going to catch this wave. Don't think he really wants to go for anything there. Rift Herald is on to Flipper right now.
So
see where he wants to throw that down. He looks like We're swapping back towards this bot side here for our AD carries and supports. As Andreas actually is hanging about for the moment, and maybe they're looking for a trade of objectives, a trade of plates. But remember, Flipper's on his way down, and he has that Rift Herald to use, so this could just be first Terror Blood to Hillerød.
Yeah, especially if they stack the wave up and get it low HP, they can just finish the last 2 plates with the strongest. So if you take a plate when there's 3 or more allies nearby, the tower gets way tankier as a result. But using the tower, using the Herald to take out the last couple of plates, as has been done by Hillerød, gives you a massive pace advantage. And Andreas on this Yasuo, that is one of the worst champions to be on weak side, because you really can't wave clear without walking up to the wave, and you're very vulnerable if you're CC.
They might just get another tower.
Yeah, they will.
They got a massive wave. They still got the Herald. Herald will most likely die.
Andreas
soon.
can't do anything here. If you walk up, you're getting Skarner ulted, you're going down. So Herald dies, but 2 towers is a great trade. They got the first tower blood as well, and I'm not even convinced Atlando get this here.
It's got so many resistances at this point. Demolish has come back up, and now they're looking for something onto Lockerdin. Do land that flag and drag. Have got the quickness for the charm. Gets the grand entrance. Knock up. Chains will come down, and that is fought with a nice kill for himself. But still, this tower stands, and Hillerød, they're onto their second Drake. Atlando definitely in a situation where they need to start contesting these. As we're going to be having ourselves a Cloud or an Infernal map.
Yeah, and considering Atlando's still got a tower, but the amount of time bought there by Hillerød, the amount of objectives they were able to trade with really big now.
Vigil's been used. That's the Graviton for the CC. The Claw cannot be followed as Facehurt is impaled. Has that flash, but I don't think he's going to have time to use it. Hillerød just punishing the mid, and they've got a wave to work with. It's small, but they were able to get some plates at least.
Yeah, great play around the package and the ult from the Skarner. Essentially, Facehurt was just CC'd for that whole time, so wasn't able to use that Claw to get away. I'm going to have a look at the gold. So a lot of farm has been piled onto Andreas in this situation, so he's up in gold in that matchup. But across the board, everyone else is down, bar 80 carries. So Thor able to get that kill on top of some plates means he's still even with Moxox. But for the most part, Hillerød pretty far ahead and pretty comfortable right now. This does still leave Andreas as a split push win condition on this Yasuo. But as I said in the draft, the limitation to that is that Yasuo doesn't have any escapes. So like you often have to dash through a wave, which is usually in front of you. So it means that he is limited in how safely he can split push. But the effectiveness of it is still there if he's powerful enough. And it can often mean that if you push deep enough and the enemy team react, it allows your team just to rush down the Baron. But for now, still a while away from that. Hillerød, 1,500 gold up. And Atlando just going to split off into a sort of 1-3-1 arrangement, but Sloth is happy to catch that wave in the top lane.
I mean, I actually really want to give some props here to Atlando, considering how much has been given up by them. They're doing a good job to at least stay somewhat relevant in the gold. It's only a 1,000 gold lead. The plates have now fallen off, so you're only going to get gold from turrets now.
I think my concern with that is Facehurt is playing Lissandra. He's just going to fall off.
Yeah.
There comes a point, especially when you look at Moxox and Sloth both having cleanse. Like, your biggest component of Lissandra is CC. That's no longer on the table. If you don't have any damage to back it up, you really aren't that useful. I'm not saying that point is now, because Lissandra's still very strong in the mid game, but it will come. And if you're already down in gold at this point, it gets a little bit concerning. I think those two item spikes for Atlando is their point where they have to take the game into their hands and sort of win it. If it gets past that, it really starts to get tricky. And I'm not saying it's impossible, because if they get great backline access, it's still winnable. But it becomes very hard, especially when the likes of Corki and Aphelios not just have their core damage items, but also start to itemize.
Oh, that's a good impale. That's into the hook. They layer the CC just fantastically, and 4 will go down. Andreas looks to try and come in. They use Mox onto the backline. Fred's pretty low and he has to flash away. Facehurt's getting chained onto. The hook goes a little bit wide. And Facehurt will at least answer back as Andreas is just running amok through the team. He's able to get out, and Ermin running very, very low now. Has to step away. Fantastic job by Andreas to actually get that much in return.
He bought a lot of space there, but ultimately it's still a 2-for-1 in favor of Hillerød. Who's the second one who died?
It was Flipper. No, it wasn't.
Flipper's
It was
not
Andreas. No, Lockden, sorry.
Lockett. When did Lockett die? He's still up on the map. When did he die? He died.
Who the hell died?
It was just one person. It was just Moxox.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, 2-for-1 in favor of Hillerød.
For some reason, I thought I saw grayed out stuff there. Yep, you're right.
I think that's probably from your solo queue games, Ailey. You're just so used to seeing grey. Anyway, so Hillerød still taking a favorable trade there, but Atlando able to bite back to a degree. And which is considering that Thor, since he got insta-killed in that fight, is pretty favorable. And one thing that is concerning for me is, although Atlando, they have these 2 item spikes they want to hit on, I don't think you can quite do it then. You need 2.5, and the reason being is QSS. Up against Flipper, you essentially need a QSS for the likes of Andreas, and potentially even Fred, maybe Thor, possibly Jolbu. I think he's building towards it now, potentially with that No Magic Mantle, and that delays those spikes because that's essentially what Skarner does. If you spike at, say, 2 items, you need 2.5 just to counteract how powerful the Impale is. And now they're looking for Fred potentially. They have an award.
Oh, first hook goes wide.
That's not even an outplay coming out from Atlando. It's just Fred walked, and it's hard to read movements when someone's just moving erratically, randomly.
Oh, he lands that one, though. I mean, gets some kind of redemption, but the Grand Entrance comes in. Jolbo gets himself a big ulti onto 2. The quickness has been used. Fred gets a 2-man charm off. They still have those chains to spread for the moment, but I mean, Fred has been pulled into the team. The package gets dropped as well, and Hillerød have that numbers advantage. Moonlight Vigil into the Gravitum knockup. CC is layered down, and Andreas makes a grand escape, but a rocket will take him out. A triple kill for Sloth.
Probably the worst person to get all that gold on Hillerød is Sloth. Well, if you, from the point of view Atlando, triple kill for him. And the team fight, the engage came in from Atlando, but they weren't able to do anything. And you saw Fred ulted by the Impale, then dragged back by the Lantern and the Tower. You really cannot play Rakan without a QSS. And then the rest of the team just pummeled down from Hillerød. And it felt like they were just on the back foot from second 1 almost in that team fight. Despite them making the engage, they only managed to get the front line, and they just weren't able to find any momentum. That's now 3rd Dragon, 4th coming up soon. And that is probably one of the best champions in the entire game with Cloud Soul is Skarner.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and whoop, you're at the Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, Skarner's great with it. Lockerdun on the Aatrox really good with it.
A lot of them are good with it. I mean,
Cork and Aphelios okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you have a lot of rockets, so Sloth will always have basically Ghost on his arm.
I mean, there's a internal cooldown. I think it's 30 seconds.
Yeah,
not based around that, but it's easy to use without the, like, some ultimates are kind of bad because, like Thresh, one, it roots you in place, but also you don't use your ultimate for movement speed. You use it when you want to put the slowdown. Whereas for Sloth, he's essentially just going to get free movement speed buffs. Mokox especially. If you throw down like a Crescendum ult, get those stacks, and it gives you the extra chitin speed it shoots, so could be a massive issue.
We're going for a fight here. Have that flag and drag available. Andres holds the last breath until the last moment. Is going to get himself his first kill of the game, but the return here is going to be this Rift-tailed. Mokox is going to take this down nice and quick here on the Aphelios. I've got the name of the champion there.
They're trying to name the gun.
Oh, you know what? In those situations,
Crescendum. But yeah, they get them pretty fast coming out from Mokox. But also, you've seen Atlando thinking, right, we're struggling in these team fights. We need that alternative win condition, which is a split push from Andreas. And they're going to kill on Lockerdun, give more of a goal lead over the Shisua, who I feel, at this point, likely going to have the Infinity Edge finished. Should get this tower on the next wave if he wants to stay for it. But Hillerød look on the other side, and they do have the Herald available. All the outer towers, apart from top, already down for Hillerød. And they're not even going to need the Herald in this situation. Flipper's hovering nearby with it, but it's not necessary. And still no QSS in yet for Atlando. I think Fred just needs one. I don't think you can play that champion into Skarner without a QSS.
This is going to be the big thing for Atlando. They're down in gold, and they also need to pay the Skarner tax. Four's going to realistically need it. Andreas is going to realistically need it.
I think Andreas, if he wants to teamfight, yes.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, fine. Jolbu, probably yeah. Unless you just want to get super tanky and just bear the brunt, but I don't think you can do that against Aphelios Corky. Fred, absolutely. Fred is squishy. Really squishy on the Rakan, and he relies on mobility. If you're locked down by an Impale, you just die. So you can see him pick up the No Magic Mantle, definitely going towards it. He needs that before they can really team fight as a bare minimum. But right now, you've seen some big item spikes come in from Hillerød. You got the Triforce Infinity Edge for the Corky. Obviously not as much sustained damage as a rapid fire cannon. You're not using your auto attacks as much. But the big thing here is the rocket damage. So because all that AD is going towards your rocket damage, yeah. Because all the AD is going towards that, you can actually burst people quite a lot in the mid game. And then if you do manage to auto someone, you got a lot of AD behind it. If you crit, then GG for them, is all I'm saying. And Julbu's actually on a ward here. Just finally spot it. He's like, oh, I'm on a ward this whole time. Maybe they're collapsing on me. I'm going to get away. He was trying to potentially look for a flank, I believe. Because this dragon spawned in a minute 30, and I don't feel super confident for Atlando's chances. They need a good angle on this. They need to get onto this back line of Sloth and Mokox if they're going to win this. You can look at the gold, and there's a 2,300 lead in the mid lane. That is not good when you're playing Alessandro who falls off. But the one good omen for Atlando is top lane is far ahead for Andreas.
Yeah. He's pretty strong at this point. However, the resets are coming in.
Does he want to join the team?
They got a minute until Cloud. I feel like he probably needs to. He has that teleport, so he's confident to go to this top side. Jolbu is just not there. Jolbu's top side, so it actually looks like they might just concede this dragon.
I mean, they have a minute. I think he's trying to get an item power spike and hit level 11, is my theory. All right, he's farming through that. We've seen 2 items on Thor, so the Blade of the King and the Ginsu's Rage Blade. This is a really big spike for Varus, arguably his biggest. You do see Gilbert went to base and picked up nothing, so just control wood, so not really sure. I think level 11 he did hit, so maybe that was a factor. But no QSS for Fred yet. So this doesn't feel like a good chance to team fight, and Andreas hasn't gone QSS either. I mean, he didn't have the gold, but I think this means they're not going to go for the dragon.
Yeah, Riftel's going to get summoned as well in the mid lane. No one really in position to contest this. Andreas still pushing away in the top side. They don't have the vision control at the dragon, either. But you need to contest this. You do not want a Skarner running around with the Cloud Soul, but they can't blind walk into this jungle.
Oh, they gone straight to Baron.
That's actually a fairly decent answer. They do it quick. Andreas is pretty strong, and Thor's also going to be able to cut it
Varus. And you can see that Hillerød instantly are aware of this. They're keeping Sloth on the dragon to clear it, but they react to the Baron. So Baron has been pulled off. Dragon's going to go down, and this is the soul for Hillerød. And that Skarner's going to be so speedy.
Sloth is pretty low. He doesn't have a package at the base, so
if you lose this fight for Atlando, the game's over. And I think they're aware of that and they back away. But you've lost the soul. Elder's going to be spawning in 6 minutes.
And now early Elder.
Yeah, now Hillerød are just going to be zooming around the map. And they are the team who outscale. The only advantage Atlando have is the side lane. Andreas has farmed up a storm on this Yasuo. And this is one of the concerns I had for Hillerød is Lockeden not on Ornn. And this is him not on Ornn on the Aatrox. And he's fallen massively behind in farm, and he cannot match up to the Yasuo. But realistically, as long as Hillerød can force around the Skarner, it's not really a problem. QSS being built, but not completed yet by anyone on Atlando. So essentially, Flipper can just zoom down towards someone, press ult, drag them a mile away, and then get the lantern as well, and they are just dead. There's no real out toward that.
Yeah, they're actually going to look to try and start Baron up here. They've got the vision control now in their favor. They aren't going to go for it quite yet. They want to get the lane set up.
They want picks, I think is a big thing. Lane setup is important. You've seen Locketons pushed in and now Sloth's grabbing that one. But they clear the vision out. Someone has to face check, and whoever does is going to go down. Flash ult from Flipper.
Oh, this is so rough. He's got the Righteous Glory and Predator available. With the Cloud Soul, he's going to zoom in and he's going to zoom out.
Yeah, may well be running Nimbus Cloak as well for that extra speed when you smite, and then Flash as well. So this is going to be a fast Skarner. There's really not very much counterplay here without a QSS. So Atlando, they're relying on this split push win condition.
He's coming in. He's got it. Looking to run away. That's going to be the Moonlight Vigil. Doesn't even need the speed to get away. Face hurt can do nothing as he is CC'd to death. And Hillerød, they're going to take themselves their 6th turret of the game as their reward for this. Meanwhile, Andreas is still doing a pretty decent job to kind of contest versus Lockeden. Actually uses the last breath. The flash comes out. The knockout goes a little bit wide. And Andreas finds himself a solo kill. And now he has that teleport available. He may just try and contest them at Baron as they've got that man advantage.
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think he can do it.
I don't think you risk it. I think you go for a steal on Jolbu, and if that can do it...
Oh!
They found Thor walking in. There shouldn't be any way where Jolbu's able to even get close to the Baron of this situation. So it's essentially gone. They have Crescendum on Mokox, and they have Flipper tanking it up. So they're going to get the Baron here, without doubt. And yeah, Hillerød, ahead in pace on a scaling composition. It's looking really good. The only real concern is that side lane, but all they have to do is just group through the bot lane where there's the least towers and push there. And it denies Andreas from doing anything, essentially. Really in a rough position.
Looking to get the death stance here for Andreas.
He's level 16 now, so he's pretty strong.
He's very, very strong. We've seen what he can do versus Lockerdon.
The question is,
Completely smashes him. Sloth is...
do you join a team fight at this point? Because I feel like it's not good for you, but the game may well be over if you don't. He's gone up towards top side to split push. So you can see Sloth went down bot to shove that wave. Everyone else is sort of moving towards mid and getting control. So essentially, when you're a split pusher, you make progress and you can measure that by, you know, towers. And they've essentially reset his progress. Obviously, the outer tower is still down in the top lane. So he's going to have to push the wave up. He's going to get towards that inner tower. He's going to take that. And it looks like Lockerdon's not even going to answer him. They just want to force through mid. And they can on the back of this movement speed they have in this Skarner. It can be a tricky dive.
He's coming in. He's got the impale. Look at the zoom. Look at the kill. Face hurt goes down for the moment. That's a massive cataclysm. Force chopping the damage out already on the double kill. They try to turn it around here as Mox throws down a Moonlight Vigil. He gets himself a return double kill. A fantastic wind wall will disengage for now, though. And that was the pick that Atlando needed to hold off the Baron for now.
Yeah, that was a 2 for 2. Overall, that's great for Atlando. You're stalling at the time on the Baron. Looks like they are going to path towards bot lane because a wave is there with the Corki. But you got to be careful that you're still extremely strong. If he comes looking for you...
a big flag and drag is all they need to set up Andreas to run away with this. Looks like they're not going to be able to get that one off. Andreas will just clear this wave out. Actually, hopping forward into the hook.
Oh, no.
That is an easy shutdown if ever I've seen one, and Sloth the one to pick it up. Jolbu getting absolutely minced. His hooks are just so on point. Jolbu goes down, the teleport's being used here, and now without the only person actually capable of doing too much damage here, it looks like this might just be doomed. The QSS is on cooldown for 4. Fred does have his up available. They've still got Baron to work with for a little bit more. Mox looking for some damage onto Fred. Watch out for that hook from Ermin. Going to go a little bit wide. Not going to find his mark at the moment. Jolbu's up in 17 seconds, and they're looking to try and hold as long as possible. 4 jumps into Mox, gets rooted up by the Graviton, and 4 now has to run away. Takes a lot of damage in return. And look at Sloth. He is just mincing through these towers right about now. Jolbu comes up in 2 seconds time here, and Hillerød just sieging up for yet another tower. You've got the Righteous Glory. The Impale is ready for Flipper. Without Andreas, Atlando aren't feeling completely comfortable to go for this, but in comes the claw, in comes the damage. He gets instantly suppressed here. Fred with the quickness gets himself a big knockup. That's going to be the cataclysm. The fight is already started with a double kill for Mox. They get themselves one in return from face hurt on the Lissandra. Andreas already zoned out of the fight, already just way too low. 30 seconds until that Elder Drake comes up, and you don't have your jungler. Jolbu is dead for 27 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, the plan was they were looking for the fight before they recalled and spent, but ultimately they just weren't able to get on the carries. It was a good attempt from Face here, but Sloth and Mocox are still in touch, and they're doing so much damage. Now look at the items just picked up there by Sloth. 4 items for the Corki. This is the Corki's big power spike when he's got 75% crit. He's got the Triforce. Yeah, not sure about that one, but
Mox is such a rough game for him. I say a rough game. He's 6-1, dude.
A rough turn of events, but Andreas looking over. If they lose Elder, the game's over.
Yeah, Andreas has to make some kind of a miracle happen.
I mean,
I don't think he can. The Elder has been taken. And what do Atlando do here? They have to somehow not lose their base with only 2 turrets left for them in the entire game.
You just don't win teamfights at this point. The Corki's so far ahead. 5,000 gold plus over Lissandra. 2,000 in the 80 carry roll. And oh my, Mocox has just spent, I want to see the items here, yeah. He's got the 3 core items for Philios, and he's not going to complete the Bloodthirster, but he's got another BF sword for more AD and that lifesteal. Flipper feels invincible. Lockerdon is pretty weak, actually, compared to everyone else, but it doesn't matter. He just needs to be a beefy brick wall. And even if you find your angle, there's still the Mikhails on Ermin, the Redemption. There's no good angle for this. And we're not even talking about the Cloud Soul, which just gives so much engage potential. Flipper's flashes up, and no one else has their flash on the side of Atlando apart from Andreas. So very dangerous to even step within a mile of this Skarner. And right now they're going to clear out the vision, push in these mid waves, and then when the top wave crashes, take this tower.
Triple QSS are coming out. The Skarner attacks well and truly in effect right about now. Turret gets placed down the hook. Goes a little bit wide. They're holding on to the tower yet, but there are minions pushing up in the mid lane. They've still got the Elder Drake on for the moment. Atlando trying to buy time, but the time is almost up for them. Turret gets placed, and they're going to take down this turret nice and quick. 4 throws out the chains. It's now or never. Flipper throws the Predator, gets himself the impale down. The team fight is already on. That is Jawboy just annihilated in the fight. A 4-man last breath. It's going to do a lot of damage already. They're actually pumping it out. It's going to be a 2 for 2 so far, but the Elder Drake is just way too strong. The ace comes down, and Hillerød are looking to take the base. 31 minutes on the clock. 23 kills to 10. Hillerød slaughter Atlando.
And a convincing win. They had this scaling, but they didn't need it. They just came out so far ahead. Crushing game, and I really just loved the Skarner pick, the effect they had with it. Still concerns. Lockett didn't look too hot on the Aatrox up against the Yasuo, but it didn't matter. As a team, they played well. They set up the plays, they coordinated them. And Ermin on that Thresh, I mean, he was gunning for the MVP award. He was so solid, so consistent on those hooks.
Ermin played insanely well. He was such a fun Thresh to watch. Just incredible hooks, always really clutch. He was just around the map as well with Flipper constantly. Mox was completely comfortable to play on his own on this Aphelios, and just solid play across the board. Sloth got fed off that first team fight that properly happened. He hit like 3 kills, got a triple kill, and from then on, it was like, face hurt, mate. It's done. And it's just, you can't do anything now.
Just little bits overstepping, misplay. I think it was hard to play around the fact that this Lissandra would fall off.
Yeah.
And I think when they lost that skirmish in the top side, that's when I started to wonder a little bit and be like, when the team who has the scaling advantage has the gold lead, it's really rough. And the fact that they had double cleanse already, it put such a timer on the game. And then they were still delayed by the Skarn attacks, as you said, for the QSSs. And it was fighting a losing battle at one point. They still, I got to credit Atlando, they gave their best effort. They still try to look for those engages, which I respect, because some teams do just fall over and die. But they still look for the best case scenario. But ultimately, it was very hard to overcome that gold lead when those carries are so strong, and even harder when they had the Elder Dragon. Really solid performance though from Hillerød. Team who had a rough first week, bouncing back. And that's not to say Atlando haven't, but Hillerød definitely looking like a solid middle of the pack team.
Yeah.
Could push higher.
That's kind of it really now, because we're looking at the teams are starting to kind of slowly fall into place here on the ladder. Hillerød, unfortunately, with that win, are looking, they're 3-3 now, so they are pretty much middle of the pack. Well, they are middle of the pack. Atlando, that makes them 2-4 now, which puts them towards the bottom. Nordvind's getting that win over Bifrost means that Nordvind are going to be tied with Atlando right now. So for Nordvind coming into next week, it's very much, right, they need to get their head in the game. There's 5 weeks left to play starting next week. They need to climb back up if they want to make it to the playoff section, if they want to make it into those finals.
But it's a good start.
It's a very good start for them. We also have the Singularity versus Vipers game, so now we know that Singularity are ahead of Vipers. But it's tenuous. If Singularity lose 2 games next week and Vipers win 2 games next week, the whole thing flips around. So there's still a lot to play for here within the Nordic League. Everyone's so close, and it's making for a fantastic tournament, really. Yeah, it's the only way to put it.
We're only 3 weeks in. We still have 4 more, and I feel like every team is still very much in it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them, they're working on different styles, strategies. You see a lot of variation in what is brought to the plate each game. And I think it's just finding out what works best for them and finding their form in terms of them as a team. And I could definitely see things changing drastically before the end of the split. And it's clear that every team is working pretty hard to try and ask themselves, how should we be looking to play the current meta? But yeah, it's been a lot of interesting matches.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been a fantastic, run so far to start this out. But next week we do start that halfway mark here in the Nordic Championship. And that's when everything starts to get really real. If you're at the bottom, it's really time to put your game face on. If you're at the top, it's time to keep your game face on, because you need to stay at that top. Everyone is so close behind. Last year in the UKLC, which is our region back from what we do back at home, we had 2 teams who were so Excel and Fnatic, who were just so far ahead of everyone else. It looked like they were all untouchable. But over here in the Nordics, no one is untouchable. Everybody seems to be capable of beating everybody, and it means that every week is insanely important. Because there's always that chance that, at the moment, Nordvind are in last spot. They could still realistically make it to the European Masters in spring.
They could still make first.
They could still
in
make
regular
first.
season.
Yeah.
It obviously would be a stretch, but it's still possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it gets interesting as well on the second leg of the round robin when we start to see teams have rematches and we start to see how that shifts. So like Nordavin's going to be an interesting one. Will they bring this new form into their second round robin games and start to beat some of the teams that took points off them before? Or will they fall to probably the same issues?
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have next week's matches up? Is that a thing we have? We do. Let's have a little look at next week's matchups. We'll have Bifrost taking on Atlando to start out our show on Sunday. Then we'll have Hybrid taking on Hillerød. Vipers Inc. versus Nordic. That's going to be a very, very exciting game. And then it's Dusty taking on Singularity. So I was going to ask you what you're most excited for, but I'm just going to tell you what I'm most excited for. Game number 3, Vipers Inc. versus Nordic, because you were saying, are they going to bring this new form? Vipers is a real test for them.
Yeah, I think this could be the match where Nordic says, we're back. We're back in full form, because obviously they did manage to get a win against Bifrost, but Bifrost have shown as much as they can be the best, they can also lose to the worst. It depends on their game on the day. If they can beat Vipers, who've been pretty consistent, I think that'll be this sort of sign that Nordic's here to stay.
Yeah, well, we'll have to find out from that, but that will be doing it here for us at the Nordic Championship. We'll be back 7 o'clock on Sunday next week for week 4. So thank you for watching, and until then, we'll see you later.